Welcome to Boards in Gear. In this segment, we're going to talk about connection to cause. Nancy, why is this important?
Well, when a board connects its mission to the larger cause, it expands its vision, and it's able to work to change maybe the circumstances that cause it to exist in the first place.
Okay, so let's hear from two of our experts to hear about connection to cause.
I'm Sarah Lawson. I'm an executive coach and leadership consultant, and I'm here with Rebecca Zanata.
Thank you. I'm Rebecca Zanata. I'm president of RJZ Connections and a senior consultant with the Ostara Group. And we are here to talk about the connection to the cause and why mission matters in a greater context.
Yeah, I think it's a really important thing for boards to be thinking about. And one of the reasons is because we're dealing often with really complex issues, right? Mm-hmm. So having multiple perspectives on that so that we're seeing where the mission of our organization fits in with a larger system really helps us think better about whatever the work is that we're trying to do.
And it's a collaboration, because if you think about it, you can't operate in a silo.
Right.
If you're working on domestic violence, if you're working on homelessness, where and who in your community is also working in a connected way to that, so that there can be a collaborative focus on raising the awareness of your mission as well as the greater mission.
Right. I think sometimes we get siloed and we forget that we're not going to solve our issue on our own. You know, no one organization will solve homelessness.
Right.
So are they partnering with a municipality? Are they partnering with a school district about how to keep kids in school as they deal with homelessness? There are many different partners who might be involved in that cause to help them actually achieve their mission. So that's really what's at stake here. So one of the things I think is really important for us to talk about is what is advocacy? What is lobbying? Because there's so many misconceptions out there, and so boards think they can't do anything about it at all.
Right.
So in broad strokes, lobbying is when you're getting involved in taking a stand as an organization on a particular legislative issue, whether that's in a local or state or national level. And then advocacy or education is really just about educating the public about the issue that you're facing. And actually both of these things are permitted within nonprofit organizations. Advocacy and education is often a really important part of achieving your mission. So it's well worth understanding that it's one of the tools in your toolkit.
Right. And education is the way to reach out into your community and to share the work of what you're doing. And that's what we want our organizations to do. We want them to get out into their communities, and we want them to talk about the work that they're doing and advocate on behalf of themselves and their organizations and the people that they serve.
Absolutely. And I will mention that there are two things that nonprofits can't do. So they can't endorse a particular candidate, and they can't align with a specific political party. Those are not allowed within the charitable sector. Beyond that, the education and the advocacy and the lobbying that we've talked about, those are all permissible activities, and you can get all kinds of information about how to do it within legal parameters. So
Right. And involving your board and your volunteers and your staff and your community in that process is really important.
Yeah. So we wanted to actually share an example that many communities, if not all communities, would be familiar with about how this works or what it might look like. So most people are familiar with Mothers Against Drunk Driving, I'm thinking, MAD as their acronym. But they're a great example of, over the past 20, 30 years, really changing our understanding of drunk driving. And they did not work in a silo. They found all kinds of ways of influencing public opinion and policy about this issue. So many of you may have driven by a high school during prom season, and there is a smashed up car out front that's a visual sign of like, hey, this is what happened in this drunk driving incident. But they also worked with policymakers about blood alcohol limits and setting a fixed number of what's the legal blood alcohol limit.
Right.
And they have done all kinds of other sort of policy work and public awareness work to just really change how we think of that issue. Thinking about that connection to cause in a broader sense, what do you see as the different roles that board members can play? So we've talked a little bit about advocacy and lobbying and education, and beyond that, what do you see as the role for the board in that connection to cause?
I think the board needs to ask for information. And so the board can work with the staff or just within itself to build talking points, right? So if there's something specific that we're trying to address, what are the talking points? And they can be used verbally, but then also some education and excellent way to communicate is through email to our legislators or to people in our community. So I think having talking points and preparing as a board member to make sure that you know what it is that you want to communicate on behalf of the organization is really important.
Yeah, I do think there's an element of preparing the board as they step into this more public-facing role.
Right.
How to be prepared for that. So what's the one-pager, the key talking
Yep.
points? It's also really useful to think about what might our opponents think of this issue and how would we
Really
address their
important.
concerns?
Right.
And then finally, I also just think it's really important for board members to know it's okay to say, I don't know. I don't have an answer for that question. And let me find out and I'll get back to you.
Yeah.
That's not a bad thing for a board member to know. We know that board members are volunteers and they're not expected to know everything.
Right. And I think actually the I don't know gives you the opportunity to follow up. And so the opportunity to go back to whoever you're communicating with and to share information gives you that second opportunity and really continues the relationship, because that's what we're doing, is building relationships to connect our cause to the greater community.
Absolutely.
So what we learned from this segment is putting our mission into a bigger context. And Nancy has some next steps for us.
Yeah, Ray, there's some key tools that your board might consider. Have an up-to-date communications tool for your organization and just up-to-date information about what's going on in the bigger landscape in which you're working. Some next steps: map all of the players who have a stake in your work. Get to know them better. Develop a deeper understanding for your work, including what makes your organization needed at all. Bring a conversation about the context of your work into your board meetings. Ask, why does it matter at the right times?
So it sounds like our mission goes beyond our organization. So let's get out and meet people.